The path they have been walking has finally brought them face to face with something they can no longer avoid. What stands before them now is not the image of a strong, independent person they spent so long convincing themselves they were. Instead, they see someone deeply afraid, someone who gave up something priceless in the name of self-protection and pride. The emptiness created by your absence has become a mirror, reflecting back everything they lost when they walked away. And what that mirror shows them is almost impossible to bear. Remaining silent now hurts more than reaching out ever could. The fear of rejection no longer outweighs the pain of carrying this truth alone. If they are ever going to be honest, they have been suffocating beneath a carefully maintained appearance of being fine. Yet this moment is not weakness. In many ways, it is the first true act of courage they have shown. It takes far more strength to break down your own defenses than to keep hiding behind them forever. They have spent so much time resisting what their heart has always known. Now they are preparing to do something that scares them more than silence itself ever did. What is happening inside them is a necessary collapse, the kind that comes before real transformation and genuine rebirth. The courage they are gathering is for something much greater than a simple message or a subtle gesture on social media. This is not about testing the waters while keeping their pride protected. It is not a small sign or an uncertain attempt to reconnect. What they are preparing is complete honesty. It is an offering that requires them to stand fully exposed in the truth they have spent so long avoiding, denying, and running from, ever since this connection awakened something inside them that they were not ready to hold. You need to understand how unusual this is for the person you have known. It goes against every self-protective habit and every pattern they have shown until now. When this moment finally arrives, it will reveal that something deep within them has changed. The very foundation of who they are and what they are willing to risk has shifted because of what they know in their soul to be real. This is not about returning with uncertainty or emotional distance. It is not about keeping one foot near the exit in case vulnerability becomes too uncomfortable. This is about showing up with no escape route left behind. It is about accepting the risk of being fully seen in their regret, their longing, their need, and in the painful understanding that letting you go may have been the greatest mistake of their life. They have been repeating words in their mind that they have never dared to speak aloud. Those words frighten them because once spoken, there is no taking them back. There is no pretending they meant something else. There is no hiding behind indifference anymore. Speaking those truths means admitting that they were never truly okay without you, never genuinely whole after your absence, and never free from the memory of what was lost when pride became more important than presence. Carl Jung once said that when two personalities meet, it is like two chemical substances coming together. If there is a reaction, both are changed. They are finally accepting that you changed them. The bond you shared created something that cannot simply be replaced or recreated somewhere else. That realization is pushing them toward actions that may confuse anyone looking from the outside, yet will make perfect sense to you because the truth beneath their words carries a different energy altogether. What they are moving toward requires complete openness. It asks for honesty without defenses and vulnerability without guarantees. They know they must face whatever response you offer from your own place of healing, wisdom, and inner strength. There is always a moment that changes everything. There is always a point where denial begins to crack and reality rushes in with such force that continuing the lie becomes impossible. For them, that moment arrived recently. Something happened that shattered the story they had built about being fine, about moving on, about treating this connection as nothing more than another chapter in their past. Perhaps they saw you moving forward with your life. Perhaps they watched you stepping into your own freedom, and something inside them broke open. The fear that followed was immediate and overwhelming. It moved beyond logic and bypassed every defense they had built. Deep within themselves, they recognized a truth they could no longer ignore. Losing you forever was not something they could accept without losing an essential part of who they are. Or maybe the turning point came through their own suffering. Maybe they descended into their own dark night of the soul and found themselves confronting the emptiness created by choosing safety over genuine connection. They reached the bottom expecting relief, only to discover a life built around avoiding vulnerability had left them profoundly alone. In that darkness, they finally surrendered to something they had resisted from the very beginning. They understood that you are not replaceable. You are not someone to be forgotten or moved beyond as though this bond were ordinary. What existed between you carried a depth they spent years trying to minimize because accepting its significance felt too overwhelming. Yet beneath every attempt to make it smaller, the truth remained unchanged. Whatever form this awakening took, it opened something inside them that cannot simply be closed again. The timing may feel mysterious, but true growth happens only when the conditions are right. Consciousness unfolds according to its own rhythm, and the circumstances necessary for this breakthrough have finally come together. The pain of resisting the truth has become greater than the fear of embracing vulnerability. Something beyond their understanding is pulling them toward action. The momentum has become impossible to stop. They are moving toward a moment where everything they have protected must be risked if they are ever to reclaim what they know they lost. Jung taught that the shadow consists of the parts of ourselves we reject, deny, and project onto others because accepting them feels unbearable. This person has been wrestling with their own shadow for a very long time. There was no shortcut around that journey. If genuine change was ever going to happen, they first had to face the parts of themselves they feared the most. Before they could face you, they had to confront their own pain. They had to meet the pieces of themselves they considered shameful, unworthy, and difficult to love. Slowly, they began to understand that these hidden wounds were exactly what pushed them away when love arrived without conditions and offered itself openly. Love cannot fully enter a heart that has never been healed. Sacred connection cannot flourish while old wounds continue to operate from the unconscious corners of the mind. And now they are learning what it means to bring together everything that was once divided within them. They are learning to claim what they denied, to accept what they feared, and to welcome the very parts of themselves they once tried so desperately to escape. What they are going through is neither beautiful nor simple. It does not follow a schedule that respects anyone's patience or protects anyone's pride. Real shadow work rarely does. It is messy, painful, and deeply confusing. It tears down every identity they once used to protect themselves from their own pain, their longing, and their fear of being fully known and then rejected for who they truly are. They have been forced to face the patterns they spent years avoiding. The fear of abandonment, the habit of staying emotionally distant, the constant need for control, the deep resistance to surrendering their heart. By sitting with these parts of themselves instead of running from them, they have begun a process of transformation that turns darkness into wisdom, brokenness into wholeness, and fear into understanding. The person preparing to come toward you is not the same person who once walked away. In many ways, that version of them no longer exists. They have let old identities fall apart, and something new is being born from the ruins. They are becoming someone capable of embracing their own depth instead of fleeing from it. Subscribe to witness this journey unfold. What you are witnessing is not merely the possibility of two people reconnecting. It is the unfolding of a profound inner transformation. A movement from closed to open, from division to integration, from choices driven by fear to choices guided by love. The work that needed to happen behind the scenes is nearly complete, and only then can something authentic emerge into the visible world. The moment may come in many different forms. It could arrive through a handwritten letter, every sentence carefully considered and rewritten countless times because they understand that some truths deserve to be expressed with great care. They know opportunities like this do not come often, and they want their words to carry the honesty they have struggled so long to embrace. It could come as an unexpected phone call, at a moment when courage finally outweighs fear. Their voice may carry the unmistakable trembling of someone standing at the edge of everything they have spent years avoiding, yet choosing to step forward anyway. Choosing complete honesty over the comfort of silence. Or perhaps they will appear in person, showing up somewhere they know they might find you, their presence itself becoming a declaration, a willingness to endure discomfort, vulnerability, embarrassment, and even rejection, if that is what telling the truth now demands of them. Whatever shape it takes, you will recognize the difference immediately. Genuine vulnerability carries an energy that cannot be mistaken for manipulation. It feels different. It speaks differently. It asks for nothing while offering everything. The words you hear will not sound familiar because they are not words they have ever allowed themselves to say before. Speaking them comes at a cost. They reveal needs they spent a lifetime hiding. They expose emotions they learned to suppress and desires they convinced themselves were weaknesses rather than natural parts of being human. You will not feel the uncertainty that once surrounded their intentions. There will be no careful testing of boundaries or subtle attempts to measure your response while keeping themselves protected. Instead, there will be complete immersion into truths they once refused to acknowledge. The difference will be unmistakable. The apology, if it comes, will not contain excuses or attempts to soften responsibility. It will recognize the pain their choices caused and accept ownership without shifting blame elsewhere. The confession will not hide behind vague statements or half-truths. It will speak plainly about what they feel, what they want, and what they have finally realized matters most to them. And any plea they make will not pressure or demand. It will simply reveal the reality of their inner world while leaving the power of choice entirely in your hands. This is what their transformation is carrying toward you. It comes when inner readiness finally meets the timing that life itself has prepared. Nothing about it will be small, cautious, or designed to shield them from the consequences of being fully seen. Understand this clearly. What they are preparing is not a small sign meant to see whether you are still waiting or willing to accept whatever little attention they choose to offer. It is not another breadcrumb scattered in your direction. It is everything they have held back. Everything they once guarded within the walls of their defended heart is now being brought forward with the full awareness that you may refuse it entirely. They know you have every right to walk away. Every right to say that their realization came too late. Every right to choose a future they are no longer part of. And still, they are moving toward you. The risk is complete because it requires dismantling every system of protection they built over the years. It means surrendering the control that once kept them safe from precisely the intimacy they now seek with a clarity stronger than fear itself. This urgency does not come from desperation alone. It comes from understanding what truly matters. They have discovered that remaining trapped inside their own fears is more painful than facing the possibility of rejection. They are risking their pride. The same pride that once convinced them vulnerability was weakness rather than one of the deepest expressions of humanity. They are learning that needing someone is not failure. It is part of what makes life meaningful and sacred. They are also risking the story they created about why everything ended, the explanations they offered themselves and others to justify leaving. Admitting that those stories were incomplete or even wrong demands a humility that does not come easily to someone who has spent years mastering emotional self-protection. They are risking the opinions of everyone who watched them leave and may now watch them return. Some may see inconsistency or confusion. Others may mistake courage for weakness. Yet the truth is exactly the opposite. Real strength is admitting when you have made a mistake. Real courage is choosing love over appearances. Real wisdom is understanding that being right means very little if it costs you the things that make life worth living. What they are experiencing now is both terror and courage existing within the same moment. Fear has not disappeared. It simply no longer holds greater power than truth. Carl Jung taught that one of life's greatest privileges is becoming the person you were always meant to be. This person is finally stepping into that possibility. The self that truly loves, chooses, and values you is beginning to emerge from beneath the false image that insisted they could thrive without your presence. But genuine transformation is measured through actions, not beautiful words alone. Words can be carefully constructed. Actions reveal what is real. You will recognize authenticity not simply because they speak honestly, although their words will carry a depth that cannot be faked. You will recognize it because of what comes afterward. Through consistency, through reliability, through a willingness to remain present and follow through over time. The changes they claim to have experienced will show themselves not as temporary adjustments designed to win you back, but as lasting shifts in how they move through life and what they now consider worthy of their devotion. Pay attention to the energy beneath everything they say and do. Are they trying to take something from you, or are they offering something to you? Do they demand instant forgiveness, or do they honor your need for time, reflection, and safety? Do they place their comfort above all else, or do they respect your freedom to choose whatever path serves your highest good, even if that choice does not include them? Real change carries humility. It carries patience. It understands that trust cannot be demanded or rushed. It is rebuilt slowly through actions that expect nothing and earn everything. Someone who has truly transformed does not feel entitled to your acceptance simply because they have finally admitted what their heart always knew. Instead, they become willing to do whatever is necessary to prove day after day that the person standing before you now is not the one who once chose fear over love. Real growth becomes visible in the way they respond to your feelings. If you are angry, they can sit with that anger without trying to silence it. If you are uncertain, they can respect that uncertainty without demanding immediate answers. If you need boundaries, they honor those boundaries instead of pushing you to move faster than your heart is ready to go. True transformation means they no longer expect you to carry their emotional weight or protect their pride. They no longer need you to make this process comfortable for them when their absence brought so much discomfort into your life. They stop expecting instant acceptance after choosing fear over connection, and they understand why caution may now exist where trust once lived. Share this if you are waiting for something genuine rather than playing emotional games. Your ability to discern what is real is sacred. It protects your energy from people who speak the language of growth without actually living it. Real spirituality is not found in beautiful words. It reveals itself through consistent actions, humility, patience, and accountability over time. You are not required to accept whatever they bring to your door. You do not owe anyone forgiveness simply because they have changed. You are not responsible for rewarding someone's personal growth by immediately opening your heart before you have seen enough evidence to trust that the changes are lasting and sincere. You have every right to say, "Not yet." You are allowed to ask for more time. You are allowed to wait and see whether their actions continue to match their words. You can create space to discover whether your soul truly desires this reunion or whether your mind is holding onto an idealized version of something that was never as healthy as you hoped it would become. And you are equally allowed to say, "No, not ever." Sometimes love alone cannot repair the damage left by repeated patterns. Sometimes even the most heartfelt apology cannot rebuild what was broken. There are moments when protecting your peace is the most loving thing you can do for yourself, regardless of another person's journey toward redemption. If your inner wisdom tells you that letting go honors your worth and safeguards your well-being, that choice deserves respect. But there is another possibility as well. You are allowed to forgive if forgiveness rises naturally from within rather than from pressure or guilt. You are allowed to try again if your desire comes from genuine love instead of loneliness or fear that you might regret walking away from a second chance. You can believe in someone's transformation when their behavior consistently supports that belief. You can open your heart when doing so feels expansive and peaceful rather than heavy and restrictive. You can receive what they offer if accepting it aligns with your deepest values and serves your growth, instead of merely satisfying the desire to feel chosen after once feeling abandoned. Both paths are valid because your life belongs to you. You are the ultimate authority over your own journey. No outside voice can tell you whether holding on or letting go is the choice that will bring you closer to the person you are meant to become. Only your own soul carries that answer. This moment is not really about their needs or their timetable for resolution. It is about your power to decide what enters your sacred space and what remains outside of it. It is about choosing, with both compassion and firmness, what supports your peace and what no longer belongs within your life. The energy around this situation feels close, not distant. Not something buried years into the future or locked away in endless waiting. If you have noticed subtle shifts lately, moments that feel difficult to explain, you may already sense that movement has begun. Perhaps thoughts of them have returned with unexpected intensity despite your efforts to focus elsewhere. Perhaps certain memories, symbols, or feelings keep appearing with unusual frequency. Whether those experiences carry deeper meaning or simply reflect your own inner process, they can serve as invitations to become more aware of what is happening within you. Pay attention to what resonates. Notice the moments that bring clarity, the dreams that leave strong impressions, the encounters or reminders that seem meaningful to your personal story. These experiences do not have to prove anything logically in order to help you understand your own heart more deeply. And if a moment arrives when reconnection becomes possible, prepare yourself not by rehearsing every conversation or imagining every outcome, but by becoming firmly rooted in who you are. Know what you deserve. Know the standards you wish to uphold. Know what you can welcome into your life and what you can no longer accept, regardless of how long you have waited or how deeply you once loved. Carl Jung wrote about the collective unconscious as a shared human inheritance filled with timeless patterns and symbols that shape our lives. One of those enduring stories is the return of the lover, the journey back home after a period of separation and inner growth. Across cultures and generations, people have recognized this theme: two individuals parting, learning difficult lessons apart, and sometimes meeting again with greater awareness than they possessed before. Whether such reunions happen in your own life depends not on destiny alone, but on readiness, honesty, and mutual transformation. The future unfolds according to forces larger than any single person's desires or plans, and sometimes the most meaningful moments arrive when control is surrendered and trust takes its place. The real question is not simply whether they are ready. The deeper question is whether you are prepared to receive whatever comes next with wisdom, self-respect, and an unwavering commitment to your own truth. Can you remain fully present, fully grounded, and fully yourself, regardless of the outcome? Can you welcome what belongs in your life while releasing what no longer serves your growth? That is the invitation before you. To meet whatever arrives not from a place of fear, longing, or obligation, but from the strength and clarity of a heart that has learned to honor itself above all else.